This Old House is made possible by a grant from Owens Corning Fiberglass Corporation, manufacturers of residential building products.
Hi, I'm Bob Vila. Welcome to This Old House. Today I'm going to show you how to build a bathroom in the middle of your living room. Remember, we're taking our living room in this old house and we're turning it into a master bedroom. So we're going to show you how to frame a new room within an existing room. We're also going to be having a visit from Rich Trathui, our plumbing contractor, and he'll be doing an evaluation of the existing plumbing lines in this old house, looking at what we've got down in the basement and helping me figure out how to tie in that new bathroom with the existing pipes, as well as giving me a few pointers on how to do some of that work myself and thereby save some money. Remember, last week we had a visit from an energy specialist, and we were looking at our furnace down in the cellar, and we were wondering whether indeed we could save it for a couple of years and not have to spend money on a new one. Today, the oil burner man is coming out to clean it. We'll test it again, and we'll try to figure out whether we can keep it. The other thing we're going to be doing is we're going to take a wallpaper steamer and show you how to get rid of some of the old wallpaper in one of the bedrooms. And before we get started with any of that, I wanted to go over to our new construction, to the new sunroom, and talk with Norman for a minute about what he's doing over there. Norm, I'm going to interrupt you.
Hi, Bob.
This came out pretty well. We were afraid this might freeze when we poured the concrete last week, but it looks good.
No problems at all.
How far along are you?
Well, you can see here we've got the sills down all the way around, bolted down with this sill sealer underneath it.
What's the purpose of putting this in between the wood and sill?
A couple of reasons. One is to stop air infiltration underneath the sill, and the other is to separate the wood from the masonry.
That helps it to have a longer life.
Right, gets the moisture, keeps the moisture away.
Well, aside from having the shoe down, doesn't look like you've gotten too much done.
Well, we've done a lot of the calculations and some of the hidden work.
Nothing glamorous yet.
No, one of those things is this beam up here, which is a 3 2x12s, and it spans from the outside wall way out here all the way across to this post.
Why do we need a big timber like that on a gable end wall?
Well, on a gable end wall, typically there's no load. The weight is all carried by the two walls at the low end of the roof.
Yeah.
But in this situation, we needed that for two reasons. One is, once we finish the sunroom and we take this wall out, we need that beam to support the ceiling from the dining room.
Oh, otherwise the dining room ceiling would cave in on this side.
That's right. And the other reason is, right where this notch is, there's going to be a triple 2x12 ridge, which will run from here all the way across to the peak of the garage roof, and that will support the roof framing and the glass for the sunroom.
Okay, so that's the new main roof beam.
Right.
What happens over here, though? Because this is a different situation from that. Here we do have all the rafter ends from this roof falling on this wall.
Right.
This is where I want to tear a hole out so that I can walk into my new living room.
Right. Now, this is a load-bearing wall, and we've started to do some of the work on that. We've put a post here, and we will have a beam that'll span across and have a couple supports, one support in between, which will carry the load of this roof and the ceiling of the living room.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, one last question. How much work do you think you're going to get done today, Norman?
Well, today we should be able to frame and sheathe this front entrance wall to the sunroom, and we hope to try to get that ridge in place.
That's probably going to be the hardest job, raising
That's right.
high the roof beam, right?
That's right.
Okay, I'll let you get to work. I'm going to go get to work on that bathroom. Before we bang any nails in place, I think we better give a quick description of the space here. Remember, this used to be the living room, and we decided we would turn the garage into a living room and take this space over for a master bed and bathroom. And the way we've laid it out, the first thing we did was, instead of just closing it off here, where this opening already existed, we're putting up a wall 3 feet back from it. The purpose of that is to avoid having a really long railroad kind of hallway here, which would be dark and narrow and about 25 feet long. This way we've created a space here that's almost big enough for a telephone. Anyway, the door, the entry into the master bedroom will be right here where I'm standing, and it will swing in against this wall. That's something you always want to remember when you're planning a space. It's always nice to have the door swing in flat up against the door. We come into the bedroom, which becomes about 11 by 14 feet, and we've got a perfect blank wall here to put the bed up against. And then to the right, I've got lots of space to put a triple dresser and another piece of furniture over here under the new awning windows. If you recall, we had the enormous picture window here on this north side of the house, and that's the one that Norman and I moved last week and put over on the south side. Well, these are thermal glass, and they allow for more privacy into this space, as well as still giving us some of this north light into here. Okay, then what we've already planned and started to work on is a new closet for this space, which will be a 5-foot wide closet, and there'll be another one, of course, where that door is behind me, so that we'll have a total of about 9 feet of hanging space. And then we've created a square, a rectangle here that's 8 feet by 5 feet. The entrance to the bathroom will be right here, so that I've got a closet on my right. I open a door here and go into the bathroom, and right in front of me I'll have a 3-foot by 3-foot fiberglass shower stall installed right here. And then to the side of it, all the way over to the wall, we'll put in a vanity shelf with a sink in it and storage underneath. And in this corner, we'll install the toilet, which will give us plenty of open space right around the 3 appliances so that we can walk around. This used to be the front door. It was there until just a couple of days ago. We've now removed it, installed another one of these awning windows, and the only thing left to do is to insulate it and plaster it up. Now, as far as the actual framing is concerned, we wanted to do it without damaging anything, if possible, so that what we've done is, the first step is we've laid out our shoes along the perimeter. This is where the walls will go. And these studs that lie down flat and get nailed, spiked directly into the hardwood floor, are called shoes, and they're put in with 16-penny spikes, 16-penny common nail. Now, the next thing that you want to do is find this line, the corresponding line, up on the ceiling. So there's 2 ways of finding all these points, these corners and so forth. One of them is to use a plumb bob, and you just usually have a helper, but in any case, you just go up looking for your corner. Here's one corner that we pointed, and making sure that the plumb bob lines up. I don't prefer to do it that way if I can. I usually like to have a good 4-foot level and a straight edge, a 2x4 or a 2x3 that looks pretty straight, and use it like this with the level right across on the side of it, and pinpoint the corner that way. So with my plumb, I can find a point up on the ceiling that corresponds with the same point down on the floor, which is the corner of my wall. And that's why I snapped a blue line across the ceiling there, which shows where the face of the wall is going to be at the top. So I'm going to have a nice straight wall. The other lines simply tell me where I have wood up there to nail to. The 1x3 strapping, that it's called, is up on the other side of the plaster, and that's what's holding the plaster in place. I'll be able to nail my plate right into that wood. Now let me just show you this. What we did earlier when we cut the shoe, we cut the corresponding plate at the same time and marked it off at the same point, so that the bottom of the stud and the top of the stud are already marked on this piece of wood, this piece of 2x4. Then all I've got to do is get it up there. And one easy way to get it up there, especially if you're working by yourself, is to cut yourself what's called a dead man. And that is simply a stud that is the exact correct length. And when you put it up in place, you wedge it a little bit, and it'll hold your piece of wood up for you so that you don't need anybody to come help. I just have to be right on the money here. There. That'll hold it in place. In this particular instance, I don't have to tap it. It's right on the blue line, so I can just start hammering it in place. Okay, so much for the plates. They're all up on the ceiling. We've got a couple of dozen spikes holding them. And we didn't crack the ceiling. Great. Now we're ready to put up the vertical members of the wall, our studs. And just to demonstrate the best way of nailing one in, I'll start here in the middle of things so that you can see what's called toe nailing them. We're using 8-penny common nails, about half the size of the nails that we've been using down here. And the main purpose of that is that you use more of them, but they won't split up the wood. And what we're going to be doing is putting them in at an angle such that they bite right into that shoe. usually the stud will move off the line a little bit, but then when you come around the other side to do the same thing, it'll go back in place. So we've got 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, and we just go up top and do the same thing. About 3/4 of an inch away from the top. That's kind of an easy situation. It isn't always easy to get at it with your hammer. And again, to demonstrate, here we've got a situation where we're putting in a double stud. This one is called the jack stud, incidentally. And this is what demarcates the outside edge of our closet door. There'll be a closet entrance right here. So what we've done is we've pre-nailed, or rather we've put the nails in place while this thing was still lying on the ground. And then we stood it up here so that we can get into this tight space right here and not have to worry about starting nails, but just worry about getting at them to drive them in with short bangs. And then the same thing at the bottom. The worst place to have this hammer. Notice what we did over here. We're going to keep the heating pipe, the line, running right through the closet. So we've wrapped it with some building paper, which eventually will keep it from ever banging inside that wall. Okay, then on this corner, we've also prefabbed our corner studs and the jack. And we're going to locate them and then try to bang them right into place. I think somebody's knocking out there. Everybody's still trying to use this as a front door. That's Rich Strathui, the plumber, who was coming over to talk with us for a few minutes. So let's leave this for later and go find him. Hi, Richard.
Hi, how are you?
You got to remember, I don't have a front door anymore.
Yeah, how quickly I forget.
How do you like the place?
A little different. It's not the Bigelow house with 14 bathrooms and all those kitchens and all, but it's certainly got some great potential.
Yeah, and we don't have the same budget we had last year. Here we've got no blank checks to write, okay?
I thought we were friends.
Yeah. Listen, no, the whole idea here and what I wanted to talk with you now is about how we can go about saving money by doing some of this work ourselves and what we can salvage, what materials we can reutilize in the place.
Well, probably next to one of them right here. This is, right off the bat, a stainless steel sink that still would clean up and looks like it's already been disconnected.
Yeah.
When that is disconnected, be sure to save those clips that attach this to the countertop. I don't know if they're here or not.
Well, we've got them. We didn't throw those out. But it is a good sink.
Yeah.
Right? Okay.
What else have you got in mind?
Let me tell you what the plan is for this little kitchen. We're going to install a U-shaped working kitchen here, but the only plumbing that goes on is a sink right underneath that sink, underneath the window, and a dishwasher right next to it. Mm-hmm. And the main thing I wanted to ask you is, can I save some money by doing some of this plumbing myself, running some of these pipes and so forth?
Well, you can't really do the plumbing, but certainly 50% probably of a plumber's bill is labor nowadays.
You've shown me how to put the plastic pipes together and everything else.
Yeah,
why can't I do it?
It is illegal to run waste and water pipe in your own house. You can do plenty of preparation work and get it ready, but probably 50% of that bill is in labor, so if you can prep it, get cavities open, that we can just run pipes and get it done, then there's some costs and some dollars that you'll save.
Okay, then what you got to do now is tell me precisely where I can chop walls
Right.
and chop holes and so forth.
We can walk through and mark it. We know that with a bathroom group here, we'll be bringing that new drain below the floor level.
Right through the basement, yeah.
Right through the basement, which means we'll have to branch over here for that new kitchen sink. It will be here. If you can open this cavity so that we can bring our pipe up and over and continue up
Okay.
right here.
So I'm
There's
knocking,
one. That should be
knocking
open.
the plaster out in this wall.
Clean it right down.
What can I do in the bathroom?
Well, we know that where this bathroom group is, that we're going to have to serve it with a vent and a drain combination vent and drain
Yeah.
for that sink.
Sure.
Now, you would have to, at some point, give me a hole that could accept 2-inch plastic pipe anyways.
Give me a 2 there so I won't forget.
Okay. And then you'll have to line me up plumb through this with a plumb
And up above.
and up through into the upper header.
All right.
Okay.
To get you right into the attic, okay.
So there's 3 more holes.
All right, then I've got my shower in the corner over there.
Right. 36-inch shower, which we know the center of that drain will be 18 off each wall, which would be here
And 18 off the
and
back.
here,
What
which
size
could
pipe?
accept another 2-inch pipe right there.
Okay.
A little bit stronger. This is rough plumbing.
Yeah.
So be sure to leave it open enough that you're not squeezing yourself.
It doesn't matter if it's bigger than what you
Right.
call for. Okay.
Over
Then
in-
the toilet's in this corner.
You got a toilet. You got a little bit of a space problem here. You got to think about it. You got the vanity here.
Up against the wall where
So
I'm
you
kneeling.
want to give yourself some space. You want to get it close to the wall, but not against it. So pretty much you'd want to be probably around 12 inches would be a good median off, and then your rough off the wall is 12 inches is the standard size of toilet
All toilets?
off the finished wall.
Okay.
That's the standard. Now that you can get other roughs, but say you have to allow for it, and then give me a good large hole that would be any 5 inches diameter anyways.
Okay.
What is below this? Is this finished below?
Yeah, I've got a finished plaster ceiling underneath there.
Okay, well, if you can picture that this is all going to come back here below the joist,
I'd
and
have
you've
to.
got to open that ceiling for me so we can just come in, get it cleaned up, and then we can just knock it out.
So I guess if I do all this chopping and cutting and so forth, I can really save some money on the labor end of things. How much time do you think one of your plumbers would need to rough this bathroom?
You could probably get it roughed in a couple of days.
Okay. And I can maybe
Which-
reduce that time by doing all this work
Sure. If
myself.
you got it prepped for us, it would be a great help.
Good. I will plan on it.
Yeah.
One thing I want to show you and talk about is this antique bathroom we've got
Uh-huh.
over here in the corner. Now, Richard, this antique bathroom is really only 25 years old, but you better put on some sunglasses because it's got the brightest tile job that I've ever come across.
I took a peek at it the other day.
Yeah.
It was
But
sort of
I think the tile is good and solid, and that's why we're going to save some bucks here. We're not going to change it.
Well, first of all, you probably leave the tub anyways because it's good solid cast iron with a few water stains, but not worthy of taking out.
Good.
I see the first problem would be here, which is a 3-valve, which is illegal.
What do you mean? They look brand new.
Well, with this valve, it has a hot and a cold that is mixed between tub and shower.
Uh-huh.
If you could be either scalded or frozen from the water if anybody drew any water. So it is illegal.
Simply because if somebody turns the water on in the kitchen, let's say the water can get too hot, that makes it illegal?
Right. It's against the code now in this state.
So what do we have to do?
What we would go into is a pressure balanced shower valve that would mount behind the wall.
But I don't want to have to tear my tile apart.
Well, that's the beautiful part of it. This is available with a finished chromed plate that would cover over the multitude of sins here, right there, and leave a finished appearance that would look something like that with these removed,
Uh-huh.
which would then make it up to code and could limit also the temperature of the water to anti-scald.
All
it
right, so
couldn't
I've
burn.
got to do that, and what's it going to cost me, Richard?
You'd wipe out the better part of $100 for that material.
Isn't that great? I guess that means I won't do much about my toilet here. I was thinking maybe we'd change that, but if we've got to spend $100 on the bathtub fittings, what do you think about the toilet?
Toilet's still, in fairly decent shape.
There's
the
no
water
cracks
stains
on it
match
or
it.
anything, no?
There's some indication of a hard water condition.
Well,
so,
yeah, most of the water in this town comes from wells, and there's a lot of iron content in it.
yeah. What you'd probably want to do is rebuild it completely. And once you have rebuilt it completely, there's really nothing left to go wrong. If you replaced all these working parts, including the gasket that is between the bowl and the tank, you then have replaced everything that could go wrong, and you got
So I basically have almost a brand
a
new
new
toilet.
tank, a new toilet seat, and you spruce it right up.
What's that going to cost me?
Oh, that you could probably be, for the materials, somewhere $30 to $50, depending on...
Good. All right. Then I can start thinking about my sink in my vanity. This is not 1956, and, you know, it's probably relatively recent, but the problem that I've seen with it is that it does have a crack running right along the bottom of it there. And what I'd really like to do is try to find an old porcelain sink with the chrome legs, something from the 1950s, you know. They could fit right in here with these soap holders and the whole bit so that it would look a little bit authentic. Can you get something like that in a salvage yard?
Yeah, well, we're taking them out all the time. As people go to new modern bathrooms, you know, the plumber is certainly the guy that would have them, because they're taking them out and throwing them out. There's no call for them.
Well, you're on. The next time somebody's getting rid of a nice big one, think about us.
Sure, we'll keep it safe for you and come and put it in.
Okay. Well, Rich, assuming I get all these holes cut over there in the new bathroom and all this other tearing apart done tomorrow, will you be able to come back here and get started on some of this rough work in a couple of days?
Yeah, you give me a day's notice, we'll get somebody out for you.
Super.
Great.
I'll talk with you tomorrow. Right
Okay.
now, I'm going to go downstairs and talk about the oil burner. With us now is Bill Donahue. He's with the company that came out and cleaned and serviced the equipment last week. Well, Bill, what's the verdict?
Well, Bob, by cleaning the equipment, we were able to raise the efficiency from 70 to 75.5%.
Is that pretty good?
It is good by today's standards, and I'll tell you how we did it. We raised the top of this boiler. We got in there with a vacuum cleaner. We brushed and vacuumed the sides of the boiler, and we took all the soot out of there, which gave us better heat transfer.
So the main problem with all that soot is that you can't get the heat transferred into the metal part of the boiler.
That soot is a real no-no in efficiency, and these units should be cleaned on an annual basis.
Okay. Listen, I've been hearing a lot about these new automatic stack damper devices. Do you think it would make sense to add something like this to the system?
Well, it's an option. Of course, it's available. I would not recommend it. I wouldn't spend $300 on a stack damper with equipment that's 25 years old.
Well, if the boiler's cleaned now, what about switching my burner down here and getting one of those high-efficiency oil burners?
Well, by doing that, you really could be making a terrible mistake.
Why?
That flame retention oil burner burns about 200 degrees hotter. And what it's going to do, it could be the death blow to this steel boiler. You could end up taking this boiler burner to the dump.
You mean it might crack it?
Positively. You could come down here tomorrow morning and find that there's a flood. You have a swimming pool in your cellar floor.
Don't want that. Well, tell me one thing. What's a ballpark estimate of what it would cost to put in a whole new system down here?
Well, if you went from soup to nuts and took everything to the dump, which is where it should go, it would cost you approximately $2,500.
And that includes my domestic hot water.
That's right. That would include your domestic hot water. You would have certainly much improved unit. You would certainly be more efficient. You'd have quicker, faster heat, would do a much better job, and you would definitely be eliminating a future problem.
Okay.
This unit is not going to last forever.
No, but as it stands right now, you've cleaned it, and there is a possibility that we could get through the winter with it, right?
It could last you, certainly, sure.
All right. I don't know. I think our attitude is going to be just wait and see a few weeks and see how it continues to operate before making that decision.
You could do that.
Well, thanks very much for all your valuable information.
You're quite welcome. My pleasure, Bob.
I'm going to take a couple of minutes to go visit with Norm, who's out there busy framing the new transition building. Well, Norm, I haven't gotten very far with that bathroom framing. I thought I'd get a progress report on what you're up to out here.
Well, as you can see, Bob, we have the front wall framed and sheathed.
Yeah.
And right here will be your front door.
Our new front door.
Yeah, and a glass panel on the side on this angle wall.
Okay, that is pretty impressive overhead.
Yeah, we
I guess
have...
that's taken a good long while to get up there, huh?
Yeah, this morning when we were here, we talked about this beam.
Uh-huh.
And this beam is actually the same size as this ridge.
All right, yeah, the header that goes over that window, you had to make it a tripler also.
Right, now that explains the size of this, because look at how big this is.
Yeah, that's basically a 12 by 6-inch beam. Why do we need such a big beam up there?
Well, normally if it was just a regular roof with shingles and plywood on it, we might be able to get away with just one of these members.
Uh-huh.
But we have a glass roof going down the other side.
That's right.
We want to make sure that there's no deflection in this beam or sagging so that it might crack our glass.
All right, and by having it this thick, I guess we don't have to worry much about anything.
No.
What's the next thing you're going to be working on?
The next step is to cut the rafters, which are the structural members which will support the sheathing and the shingles on the front side of the sunroom. And I have one all marked out, and we just have to cut it.
How do you go about getting all these right angles in here so that it's going to fit?
Well, that's just a series of calculations depending on the slope of the roof.
Yeah.
And
Any
it's a little
tricks
bit,
to it?
well, it's a little bit tricky.
You just don't want to give up any of your secrets,
I can't
right?
give all my secrets away.
All right,
Why don't
you
I cut it and
put
see
a couple of cuts on it?
Okay.
Yeah.
You may have noticed that I didn't cut these all the way through.
Why is that?
And the circular saw doesn't quite make it, because the further we cut these through, the less strength we have in
Yeah,
the
you're
actual
gonna weaken.
rafter for this little piece.
Uh-huh.
So we have to finish these off with a hand saw. It's not that much work, and it makes it a lot stronger. Okay, one more cut down the other end, and we'll be ready to try it. Okay,
Well, let's see if your tricks work.
What we want this to do is sit nice and flat on this wall and come right even with our ridge. Well, it's pretty good, Bob.
Superb. Now tell me the truth, Norm. Is that the first one you cut?
Not really.
Okay. Well, let's talk a minute about the progression that's going on here, because in the next few days you're going to be practically finishing up the building here, right?
The next thing to do is cut a series of these rafters.
Yeah.
Run them all the way across.
Uh-huh.
Put some plywood sheathing on the top. Shingles on this side.
Yep.
Then our walls will arrive. Not the walls,
the
but
glass
our glass
panel.
will arrive in a couple days.
Okay.
And we have a little bit of framing to do back there, and then we'll assemble the whole system.
Okay. Well, we're running a little bit short on time for today. Next week we'll probably have a chance to maybe do a little bit of shingling on this building, right?
Yeah.
All right. Till next week, I'm Bob Vila for This Old House.
This Old House is made possible by a grant from Owens Corning Fiberglass Corporation, manufacturers of residential building products.